What up? Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we always start this show by being transparent. And yesterday, I went 2-1-1. The best bet that I gave on the show here, which was the under in the Celtics game, I got 224. Sure, if you got it when I gave it out on the show, you should have got a little bit better number than me and hopefully still cash. So hopefully you had a 3-in-1 day. But profitable day for myself. Good to be back here with my friend Mr. Veno. How are you doing? And how was yesterday for you? Or how things been for you? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been about a week, Skee. We crossed paths on the NBA show yesterday at Wagertalk. Yesterday was good. Yesterday was 2-0. That customer appreciation day over there at wagertalk.com. That play for me was the Milwaukee-Toronto game over. Got there pretty easily despite the injuries. I think we see that all the time in the NBA, right? These guys sit and games still do what you would think they would do when everybody was playing. 128, 112, I think was the final there. Dame finally had a big game. And then in college football, we won again yesterday with the over in the Ohio U Central Michigan game. Needed over 46.5. That total, by the way, reached 49 by kickoff. So there was a major move on that game. It got to 54. Another college football winner over the course of the last 8+ weeks at Wagertalk. I'm the number one profitable handicapper over there in college football. So college football has been great, Skee. I think it's been 61% over 8 weeks now, and we'll look to keep that rolling this week.
Good stuff, Rob. A lot of comments coming in. And I don't think anybody caught this because I've been doing this for a long time because I don't know, maybe I just was too lazy or I just thought I could get away with it. But every time we talk about football, I put this layout up. And this is the first time somebody says something, says, he got that baseball layout. Calling me out. So now I got to go find a football one.
They don't miss anything.
And then we need some clarification here, Rob. What is the color of the shirt? Saturated says, is that Ravens purple? ATMG says he's going for light blue. I don't know if that's light blue over there. We're trying to see who's winning the shirt challenge today. Got a couple more guesses. We have peach glass orange. It's absolutely not that. What are we looking at there, Rob?
This is a darker blue. I think, to be specific, Skee, they call this periwinkle blue. So this is a dark blue. We would have settled for dark blue other than light blue today, or regular blue. But light blue it isn't.
Boofer says no polo winners today.
It's like the lottery. This is Mega Millions. Here we come.
Caleb says great day at the office. Yeah, let's try to keep it going. Wasim says thanks for your picks yesterday. You had one of my best days yet. Love to hear it. Let's see if we can talk out some more winners here today. What's up, Anthony? Appreciate everybody in the chat. And Jeff says, we're going to talk about the no-show from AD. Absolutely got cooked by Sabonis. I don't want to talk about the Lakers when they're on the schedule. Give me a break when they're off the schedule. I'm all right. And appreciate you, Jeff. Brad Maddox says, periwinkle. I knew it was something with the funny name.
Yeah. We got tricky today. Although we didn't get tricky, Skee, because as the schedule would have it, and this happened last week, I do Wager Talks NBA show on Thursday, but they do it in the morning now, 10 o'clock East Coast time, 7 a.m. Pacific. And last week, I went and changed the shirt that I had on in the NBA tip-off show because I didn't want people watching and then guessing it right. So today I switched up and I didn't change it. I kept it on to see if we could throw some people off here. But keep that in the notes that periwinkle is in the repertoire here of polo shirt colors.
Yeah, you got to keep them on their toes, Rob. Great job by you. And let's get into it. We got a little bit of, we have NFL today. We have a college football game, few college basketball games, and only a couple NBA games for today. So I think we'll touch a little bit around the board. And we'll start with college football with my baseball layout. Let's go. 313, 314. Boston College versus Pittsburgh. This one opened up Pitt. Oh no, this one opened as a pick 'em. We now see Pitt as high as 2.5 point favorite. Total open 47, down down to as low as 45 and a half. So I mean, I don't think it's too crazy of a move because that's still under a field goal. But do you think Pittsburgh is worthy of this line move, Rob?
Boy, I'm not sure. I think it's more fade Boston College money than it is pro Pittsburgh money, Skee. But the college football season, much like the NFL season, although the NFL for different reasons, at the end of the year, you can pretty much identify teams that are still playing hard or teams that have checked out, so to speak. Um, I'm not sure that either of these have checked out. I think they're still playing, but you take a look at what happened to both of these run defenses last week. Now, it will start with the Pittsburgh side, which absolutely got annihilated by Syracuse on the ground. Syracuse ran the ball 66 times for 382 yards, but they caught Pittsburgh by surprise because Syracuse came out. They decided last Tuesday. Let me just give some context to the background. The game was played at Yankee Stadium. Head coach Dino Babers for Syracuse decides, you know what? Yankee Stadium's been around 100 years. We're going to play football like it was 100 years ago. And instead of running their offense, they decided last Tuesday that they were going to run Wildcat offense and totally caught Pittsburgh off guard. They had a tight end running the Wildcat. I think he had 18 carries on the day. Quarterback, running back, tight end, everybody running the ball. They only threw 8 passes. It was like watching Army or Navy. And again, they surprised the Pittsburgh side and crushed them. Syracuse hadn't won a game in a while. Syracuse looked terrible for weeks, but they wound up winning 28-13 last week. Maybe you could forgive Pittsburgh for that, for not being prepared, for being caught off guard. They had no idea what was going to come at them. I don't know that you could say the same for BC, which got thoroughly annihilated on the ground by Virginia Tech, which has become a very good football team with their running quarterback, dual threat quarterback, I should say, Kyron Drones has been fantastic. So if I put it into that sort of perspective, I would think that maybe Pittsburgh, you give them the benefit of the doubt last week, but they just haven't been good offensively. Skee 7 points, 7 points, 17 points. It's hard to play either side here. We saw a big dip in the total down to 45. Now it's pushed back up to 46. I don't know that I would be surprised by anything, honestly, in this game, but Pitt at home, probably if I had to, and I didn't play, let's verify it right off the bat that I haven't played this game. I think if I had to, I would lean Pitt a little bit, but you do have to fear the dual threat quarterback on the other side, Thomas Castellanos, who came in about 7-8 games ago and has been really good for BC running the football. So 2 teams really go in the same direction, both that you'd like to fade. And of course, it's a Thursday night game, right? Isolated game. And you sit there and you say, I don't want either one of those teams. So it's a tough call. I can't blame anybody for playing it any way that you see fit. I just don't see any way to play it.
Fair enough. We don't have to play every single game. Just looking at this, and I don't know a whole lot about either of these. I don't know anything about either of these schools, honestly. But just looking at what they've done, stats wise, record wise, I mean, I do want to shout out before I forget. They're combined 12-6 to the over. So maybe that is the direction you choose to go with both of these teams. But you have a Pitt team. Like the first thing that comes to my mind is they've only won 2 games all season, and they're favored here. So I was thinking that they're kind of favored for a reason. That's what they're trying to tell us. But they've been favored 4 times this season. They haven't won any of those games or haven't covered any of those games. My bad. Not one. They haven't covered any of those games. So it makes me nervous. But my thought is still that Pitt is favored for a reason, or you play the over. So I'll stay off of this game just because I don't think I played one college football game all year. The chat disagrees. S. Warrior likes the under. Daryl likes the under. A couple people leaning BC here, but we'll stay off. JB Brown, you did not miss NBA. NBA will come last. We have one more or We're going to talk about a college basketball game, talk about the NFL game, and then we'll talk about NBA. Save the best for last. So we're not gonna have fun with this one too because I didn't update this either. But we'll go to the next game, and that will be Missouri at Minnesota. And check that out, bro. Missouri at Minnesota. This one opened up Missouri -2. Not much movement. I'm seeing -1.5. Total opened up 144.5. We are seeing some movement here. It's as high as 148. So I know it's not hard to get you to go bet overs, Rob. Would you agree with the line move going up in this game?
I'm surprised at it, Skee. I really am. Missouri is probably the better team. But Dennis Gates's crew, they've played a slow pace this year, right? They ranked 329th in the nation in tempo offensively. And, what makes that even stronger is the fact that they're at 329 tempo playing fast teams. They've played two of the fastest teams in college basketball this year. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think they're fourth fastest. They played Memphis. They're ninth. So you played two top 10 teams as far as tempo is concerned. And you kept both of those games. You kept the score down in both. Against Memphis, they only get 125. Against Pine Bluff, they did get to 180. That's because Pine Bluff can't defend. So I kind of wonder here, Skee, if in fact this total is justified. You see nothing out of Minnesota that suggests that they're going to be able, that they're going to want to push the basketball against Mizzou. I think Mizzou seems at this point in time to be content playing half-court basketball. Again, I think they have the better athletes, so you wouldn't, when you go on the road, you probably do want to play a little slower, a little more conservative. For Minnesota, the schedule for them included UTSA, who I think is the 16th fastest tempo in college basketball. So these two teams combined have played 4 games, 3 of them against extremely fast teams, yet their tempos are slow. So they're a little bit efficient against bad defensive teams. I think that's where the points have come from on both of those sides. But against two good defenses, you got a Big Ten against a big SEC here. I'm not so sure 147.5. It's probably numbers guys making this move. I mean, they run models and say, oh my God, it's going over 144.5. But I just, I like to play fundamentals, the people on the court, the way the coaches are going to play. And I don't know that this one's going to play out to over 147.5. So maybe there's some value here in the under. I certainly think there's value in Missouri. I think Missouri's the better team, clearly. So if to ask them to win by 3, I don't think it's too much. Actually, by 2, because you have plus 1.5 up there.
This line may be moving a little bit in the wrong direction as far as the total is concerned. Says Rob. Let me ask you this. Mizzou has failed to cover every game so far this year. But you think it's something to, like, they've already played a few games and Minnesota hasn't played any games yet. You think that means the advantage Mizzou? Would you take them first half? You think, maybe it takes some time for Minnesota to get going?
Well, I'll say this where Mizzou's concerned. The first game, they laid a huge number against Arkansas Pine Bluff, the SWAC team that they're supposed to crush. They win 101-79. So it's hard to take that ATS loss with anything more than a grain of salt. Then they did play Memphis, and they had Memphis by 14 in the first half and then just got destroyed. Memphis, a very, very good team, certainly beyond the caliber of Minnesota. So I don't fault Missouri for losing that, but I do give them a little bit of a boost because in 2 games, they've played a top 10 caliber team. For Minnesota, the games are Bethune-Cookman and UTSA, Texas San Antonio. Strength of schedule favors Mizzou. I think starting personnel favors Mizzou. So even though they haven't covered yet, Skee, and they are on the road in this one, we're not asking them to do much more than win this game by a bucket, and I think they can do that.
Fair enough. So looking at the Mizzou side for this game, and I knew you guys would have fun with the background. I said I might as well throw it up now since the jig is already up with the baseball, the baseball one. But good stuff on this college basketball game. And we'll move back over to football. And we'll go 311, 312. Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Game opened Baltimore -2.5. They're now a 3.5 point favorite. So went past that key number of three. Total open 44 and going up. 46.5 is what we're looking at now. So I always telling you guys lately, I haven't been doing too much in football. I haven't even really been watching it. But what I do know about this one is these teams play earlier in the season, and when they played, it was a little bit of a different story because Burrow was still banged up. Now he's healthier. I think the offense will look a hell of a lot better than it did in that game, and he's familiar with this Ravens team. So a combination of all those things, and just you guys, I'm sure you've heard it plenty of times when Joe Burrow and the Bengals are catching points, you take him. He's covered, I think 9 out of 10, or you can probably even somewhere around that range is what his record is. So with this one being over a field goal, I would be leaning a little bit more towards Cincinnati. I do I would love it. I would have loved it if Baltimore had pulled that game out last week, but because they lost, it makes me like it a little bit less. So, Rob, is this a game I should be getting involved with on the Bengal side, or how are you looking at it?
I think if I'm going to get involved, Ski, it would only be on the Bengals side. Although, the line move is somewhat due to injury, right? I don't think you have T. Higgins on the other side for Cincinnati. Um, However, where they're concerned, they played plenty of games where they didn't have Jamar Chase and only T. Higgins. So the one receiver thing, I don't mind as much. The reason why I would lean Cincinnati here is because I often handicap the NFL with division games being the most important, and Cincinnati has not won a game inside the division yet. So when you look inside that North Division in the AFC and you see all four teams clustered the way they are so tight, I think Cincinnati's in last with a 5-4 record. If it comes down to tiebreakers at the end, you have to win some of these divisional games. So to me, this is a game where Cincinnati's backed into a corner. They're already 0-2 inside the division. You can't go to 0-3 or else you're not going to win any tiebreaker at the end of the year. So for that reason, I think, maybe there's going to be plenty of motivation on both sides, but I think slightly more motivation on the Cincinnati side. I'm with you. If Baltimore hadn't lost on Sunday, I would really like Cincinnati more. But both of these teams enter off a loss. Cincinnati, a disappointing loss on Sunday as well. So a lot of motivation. I just think that 0-2 division record sticks out to me. I've found over the years that when you play these teams that are good teams that are cornered and they get a divisional opponent and you're catching points like you are here, you got to try that side. So for me, it would probably be the Bengals. Totals going up, which is a little bit surprising because so many people play the trend of primetime games, right? There's something like 22-9 to the under this year in primetime games. Generally, these Thursday night games go under. So I don't have as big of an opinion on the total here, but I do think I would take Cincinnati plus points.
All right, so we're lining up in the same. We're looking at this game the same way here. A couple comments, people thinking it's a lot of field goals in this game. Booth reminding us that primetime games have been snooze fest as far as the total is concerned. And Itachi sharing some trends. So let's read some of these. He shares them every day. Much appreciated. Says, not sure if this will help, but since 2017, home favorites facing a division opponent on a short week where the line is greater than -3. They are 37-6 straight up. Says take the Ravens money line. And that makes sense to me. I understand that. He gives one more trend. Says, since 2021, Bengals are 8-0 ATS when they're road dogs of at least 3. Since 2021, Ravens are 1-6. That's home faves against the division. I like that stat. This one I like a lot. That says the Bengals are to play here. That's the way I'm feeling already anyway. Appreciate you sharing that. And there's a couple more comments I wanted to read here. Jay Pacino says, I told you Gabe Davis on Monday, Tyler Boyd over 43.5. He says Chase is going to get all the doubles, and Boyd will make up for that drop touchdown on Sunday. Premium Picks also saying Boyd over his yards. So would you agree with that? Do you think Chase will be getting some doubles in this game and, some other guys can take advantage?
Yeah, and it's certainly the absence of T. Higgins, right? So when you take T. Higgins out, somebody's got to make up for those yards. The next guy in, the number 3 receiver, is Taj Boyd, so he's the obvious choice there. When you're not throwing to Chase, you're throwing to Boyd. I'll say this, Skee. I talked earlier about the line movement, maybe in some part due to T. Higgins' absence from this game. But for Baltimore, you have injuries that are just as important, right? Their top tackle, Ronnie Stanley's out here. They may have 2 starting offensive linemen out for this game. And then their top corner guy, Marlon Humphrey, is doubtful for this contest, which kind of offsets the absence of T. Higgins on the other side. They don't have a top receiver. You don't have your top cover corner. Chase is going to get, even if he gets doubles, it's not going to be the likes of Marlon Humphrey. So, when you think of stuff like that, you start thinking that maybe the game can make it over the number. However, I'd rather stick to the Bengals here plus 3.5. Just seems like a lot to give them more than a field goal in a game that, like I say, they have to win, or else tiebreakers, they could kiss them goodbye, because if you end up tying in that division at the end of the year, you're not going to the playoffs.
Good point. Very good point. And, you guys talking about, I heard a shout out of Boyd over here, like looking at my fantasy. I'm like, let me see if I can get him off the bench somehow. So you guys who like Boyd, would you take him over Adam Thielen? Would you put him in over Adam Thielen this week? Let me know in the chat, and I'll make some adjustments. Hopefully give me a win in fantasy this week. But we both agree we like the Bengals plus 3.5. And makes sense. Brian's also saying Chase under 82.5 because he's going to get so much attention. Everything is making sense that we're saying. Boofer says, kiss that like button. Hello. Yeah, if you guys are appreciating the show, if we help you make some money on the show, hit the like button, as it does help the show out quite a bit. And I do want to give you guys a shout out, because I went back and checked in. Yesterday's show was the most liked show that I had. We had 450 likes. So thank you to everybody. And just glad you guys appreciate the show and like the show. One more thing I want to call out before we move over to NBA. If I was making a college basketball bet and I just might, I'm going with Houston first half. I just think that's the cash cow play. They're 2-1 so far this season. Last season was profitable. I'm not capping these games like how Rob is capping it. I don't know as much as these guys, but I just trust that program. And if I'm making a bet, that's where I will put my money today. All right. Now, finally, they can't say anything about this background, Rob.
Well, the Sonics are up there. We're back in the 19. Sean Kemp and Gary Payton are still playing.
Oh man, I guess I gotta do a whole revamp here. I gotta fix everything.
That's all right.
We'll keep it going. Yeah, close enough. We'll go 5-17, 5-18. That will be the Brooklyn Nets heading into Miami to take on the Heat. This one opened up Heat minus 2.5. Looking at Heat mostly as a 3.5 point favorite. There's a 4 out there, so depending on what you like, make sure you line shop. Total open 219 and it's down as low as 214.5. So people coming in like in the under. And injury report, I should have hit refresh a while ago. My apologies, but don't think it'll be as crazy. It absolutely can't be as crazy as yesterday. Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas remain out for the Heat. Still be without Tyler Hero, and they're going to be without RJ Hampton as well. So I feel a few different ways about this game, Rob. For one, the Heat have won 6 in a row, right? They started off the season extremely poor. They were just looking pitiful to me. Then now they win 6 games, but I'm just looking at it like I'm not impressed by these 6 games they've been winning. They're playing all the bottom feeders, all the teams who don't play any defense, and they're barely even scoring on them. So I don't like a whole lot of what I'm seeing from the Heat. They're 0-4 ATS at home so far this season. You look on the other side, Brooklyn's been playing pretty competitive basketball. They are 9-1-1 against the spread so far this season, and they're beating every team that they're supposed to beat. When they play the competitive teams, they're playing them pretty close and pretty tough. This is a team that was missing Nick Claxton for a good portion. Now they've gotten him back. And, I always say, for you guys who are new, to start the season, I couldn't do it just because we didn't have enough games played. But right now, we do every team has played just about 10 games except for the Rockets. So now I start to look at last 5 game stats because it helps. I mean, I watch the games too, but it helps me, notice what's changing between these teams as we go along. So the thing that pops out to me in this game is the Nets defense has gotten a hell of a lot better. They're the fifth best defensive rated team the last 5 games. And I just think that coincides with Nick Claxton being in there. So you give me that. And just looking at both of these teams, neither one of them are playing up tempo, 19th and 18th in pace the last 5. Miami offense, who I already talked about, Hornets have given up like 120 plus to everybody. They only got 111. Spurs have been giving up 120 plus. They didn't make it to 120. Like I just don't like anything I've seen from this offense. Numbers wise, it says they're 18th over the last 5 games. So combination of those things put me on Heat team total under 109. And they didn't even get that versus the Grizzlies and Lakers. They made it to 108. So I just don't see Miami having that much success. This Brooklyn team, already talked about a little bit about what makes their defense better. But why I don't want to include them in this over is because they like to shoot a lot of threes. And Miami is bottom 5. I think they're third worst defending the three so far this season. So if the Nets are getting a lot of these looks and start to knock some of them down, I mean, but number 3, 3-point percentage, they're more than capable. They can win this game. If not, keep it respectable and keep it close. So I also like the Nets plus the 3.5. Veno, you with me or against me? How you feeling about Nets versus Heat?
Well, I think for starters, Skee, all the value was with the opening number playing under. That 219 was too large, and it's come way down, as you say. They played once already. I think it got to 214. And I'll give you another reason, at least in my mind, why the Nets have risen defensively. In the NBA nowadays, you have to play perimeter defense. And last year at the trade deadline, when they acquired all those guys, they really didn't mesh right off the bat. But you take a look at who's playing the perimeter D and the wing defense, and it's Dorian Finney-Smith, it's Spencer Dinwiddie, and it's Mikal Bridges. Bridges was probably the best defensive player Phoenix had. Certainly Finney-Smith was the best defensive player Dallas had, and Dinwiddie was probably the second best. So those 3 guys out on the perimeter against Miami, a team that, even though they're not great at it, they do like to launch threes. They've launched threes for a couple of years now. They probably can keep them a little bit quiet here on the perimeter, especially without Hero. Bam Adebayo had an interesting quote off of this 6 wins in a row. And it was real simple. 5 words or 6 words, excuse me. We have a will to win. He may have a will to win. Jimmy Butler probably has a will to win, but I don't know that regular season is the time when they have that will to win. We always see it come postseason, but regular season, maybe, 50-50 where that quote was concerned. So even though I took it into consideration, I don't put too much emphasis on it just because I think the fundamental factors override that. And the fundamental factors to me all rest with the Nets. You do wish you had Cam Thomas because he does bring offensive firepower. You talked about how they like to shoot threes. A lot of that destruction is done by him, but these other guys can play too. So I like the way Brooklyn's going. I kind of like the way Miami's going. If you missed the 219 to play under and maybe even all the way down to 216.5, you might have missed the boat, but I couldn't argue against anybody who still wanted to play under in this game, Skee. I didn't look to see what Miami's team total is, but maybe, listening to you describe the way you feel about the Miami offense, you probably want to play Miami total under.
Well, that's what I am on for sure. Absolutely. And this comment by S. Warrior says, it's Haywood Highsmith, Warriors on the Nets. We owe them one. We owe them one for sure. We're going to be ready for them on Thursday. We owe them one. Yeah, I get it, but it doesn't always translate. I mean, we heard this from Evan Mobley too, didn't we? And then went out there and got smoked again. So they can say it all they want. Do we trust them? And I don't think I trust this Miami Heat team until they show me versus some better competition that they can continue to win. Itachi with some stats, history of the database. Home faves coming off a 4-game road trip, who also have a 4-game road trip on deck, facing a non-divisional opponent, are 25-11-1 to the under. 30.6%. And he says, since 2017, home faves with a 4-game road trip on deck on at least a 4-game win streak facing non-division opponents are 19-31. ATS says to fade the Heat. And he says he's leaning the same way as me with those trends. So, I mean, I guess I can pull this up here. I was looking at this and I was just playing with numbers. You don't got to put too much into it, but it does also back up what I was saying. Let's see if I could screen share here. Boom. Boom. So you can see this, right?
We got it.
Okay, so what this is pretty much saying is you're looking at a team coming back home after winning the last 4 games of a road trip, and they're playing against an opponent off back-to-back wins, and they're just not too rested. The rest is less than 3, and they're not on a back-to-back where they might not care about playing defense. 18-3 to the under is what it shows here. Average total was 207.6, going under by 11.43 points per game, with those home teams averaging a little bit under 102. And this goes all the way back as far as the database goes. 1996 was the first entry here. So that says play the full game under. It doesn't really support the net side, but you still get you under that team total of 109 if it goes how we think. So kind of correlates with what the top you shared there. That's why I put it up on the screen, because I was looking that same way. What do you think about that query, Veno?
Well, that's a strong number, Skee. That's a strong number. And I think where those types of trends are concerned, I can buy into those a little bit more than I can when you have historical trends where you're worried about what personnel was like when it's an individual team. If you know what I mean, you worry about who their personnel was 20 years ago when these trends were made. But that's an overall general overview. I like that. And I think, the way I handicap, which is much more matchup oriented, much more fundamental oriented, I think when you start adding those things together, the queries, the trends, the matchups, and the 2 quotes from the Miami big men. Interesting that they both came from big men, Highsmith and Adebayo. I think those quotes, even though we may not trust those to be quotes that mean they're going to win, I do think it means they're going to exert themselves defensively, the 2 big guys. So again, we pointed out a lot of matchups that signal defense. We pointed out a previous meeting that only got to 214. Talked about a couple of key absences offensively on each side, Thomas and Hero. I mean, I don't know which other direction you could point other than under. Like I say, the people who got there quick got the best value. I'm not saying the value's totally gone. We're just getting, Anthony's in the house, so I'm not going to say it. The short end of the stick is what I'll say as far as under is concerned. Still could be value, though, at 214.5.
I agree. If I saw 219, I'd probably take the full game still. But I said reasons why I think Brooklyn can have success offensively. And at the same time, you're only missing 1.5 points on that team total, which I think is still good. So that's the direction I chose to go. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up here, and I'm kind of blanking out. Claxton, I did see some people looking at his props, maybe his block prop or, steals plus blocks, however they do it. I know he's been pretty good in that department since he came back. He was pretty good last year. But I am on the Nets, and I'm on the team total under for the Heat. So that's how I see it. We can move on over. Look, Rob Maddox says, come on, Rob, say
it. They'll say it for me. Believe me, they'll say it for me. Before you know it, we'll be staring at pictures of peaches on the screen.
Last game on the slate. We have 519, 520. OKC, Golden State Warriors. Game open OKC minus 2.5. They're a 3-point favorite now. Total open 226. We're looking at 227 pretty much as a consensus here. And look, there you go, Rob. You asked, got delivered, says Boofer.
There he is.
ATMG. Injury report here. I don't see anybody on there for OKC. For the Warriors, they will be without Steph, and they will also be without Draymond Green. So these teams did just play the other day. How I feel about this one, Rob? Again, OKC has been pretty solid all year, but just looking at what they've been doing lately, the defense, they're the second best defensive rated team. I think if you look at their last, 3 games or so, um, they're only giving up an average of like 97 points per game. So I like what I'm seeing there. I heard Josh Giddey talk about their defense, and I like everything he was saying there. This Warriors team, they're just struggling offensively. If you look at their last 5 game stats, they're bottom 5 offensive rated team, and both teams really good defending the three. But the difference is the Warriors aren't good shooting it. So this is a Warriors team who they've already been talking about who can score. It's only been Steph, and maybe one other guy who's put up over 20 points this season. Nobody else is shooting the three well. How is Golden State going to score versus an OKC team who's playing this kind of defense? That's just how I feel. So I like Golden State team total under 112.5. And I just feel like I like that a little bit more than OKC to win the game, although I think they can absolutely win. It's just I don't want to I don't like the thought of laying points with an OKC team, but I'll go team total under for Golden State. How do you feel, Rob?
Well, I played OKC at 2.5. And like you have to do it with some reservation, right? They're not generally used to being in this role. How often is Golden State a home underdog? Obviously, they're a home underdog today because Draymond's under suspension and Steph isn't playing. But some of the things that you pointed out, Skee, are some of the things that I like in this game as well. First off, let's just note that it's the first of back-to-backs here in Golden State. So maybe Golden State comes a little stronger in the second game than this game without two of their guys. They won't have Draymond next game either. I somewhat applied a new theory with zero data to back it because it's brand new. This in-season tournament, right? To me, this in-season tournament was supposed to create a desire for all 30 teams to try as hard as they can on these Tuesday and Thursday and Friday night games. I don't know that it creates that desire for all of the teams, but I do think it creates the desire for a team like Oklahoma City, which hasn't won anything and is looking to, still climb the ladder of respectability. So they play Golden State in one of these in-season tournament games on a Friday night about a week ago. They lose 141-139. Close game, they lose. And to me, that type of thing sticks with a young team. So a very small piece of the handicap was Oklahoma City looking for instant revenge from that loss. Second thing was, as you talked about, the current form is all in Oklahoma City's favor here. What I have in my notes is that in 5 of the last 6 games, Oklahoma City offensively has shot 48% or better from the field. They've been tremendous on offense. You talked about how good they've been on defense. They've been that good on offense as well. It's resulted in a 5-1 ATS record over their last 6. Golden State's the opposite offensively. And I think you said they're bottom 5 last 5. Well, it's because they've shot 43% or worse in 5 of their last 6. So they're not even shooting the basketball well, and their best shooters on the bench. So you wonder where Golden State's going to get theirs from tonight. I think you start combining all those fundamentals and maybe a little bit of that seed for Oklahoma City, having lost that tough game at home, 141-139. And I didn't think -2.5 was that unreasonable for them on the road. By the way, on the road this year, as far as point spread is concerned, they've been 3-1 against the spread on the road. So OKC's been, normally a young team will defend home floor and not be able to go on the road. But as they've gotten progressively better, started last year, continuing this year, you start to learn how to win on the road. And they're doing it so far. Small sample size, only 3-1 against the spread, but still OKC's proven to be able to get there on the road. Whether they can get there in a favorites role, we're going to find out here tonight, laying 2.5 and now up to 3. You mentioned I did get them at 2.5, but I like OKC to win this game.
I'm with you on that. I think OKC is the right side. What up, Big Boss? Appreciate you tapping in. Akbar says Hollister is the official sponsor of the show presented by Rob Veno. Atachi shared some more trends. I wanted to shout these out. Going back to 2018, home dogs on a 4-game losing streak, facing a conference opponent when the line is less than +3. 28-12 ATS, 25, 14-1 to the under. Says Warriors and the under. And he shares one more here. Says since 2012, road faves when the line is less than -3, coming off a 30+ point win, are 23, 12-2 to the under, about 65.7%. So appreciate you sharing that. And just looking at Golden State, I mean, they lost their last 4 games, right? They haven't surpassed 112.5 in any of them. They have covered, I think, one at least, if not more than one. But if they're going to be in this game, it has to be with defense. That's just how I feel. I think OKC is capable of scoring in this game. But I look at Golden State's defensive rating. They're top 10 there too. So I just felt like the best way for me was to fade the Warriors. That's how I feel. And do it with the total. Jeff says he'd feel like a square if he takes OKC. Hey, don't get caught up in sharp square all the time, especially with NBA.
Don't get us going on Sharps and Square.
Yeah, man. Because
that's a whole other show. Squares get paid too, you know?
Yeah. I could care less.
Yeah.
We the real sharps. That's what I feel. Maurice says Warriors first quarter. They're still making fun of me. Golden State Warriors had a bad November, aka March Madness. November Madness.
There you go.
I think I'm confident with my play. I don't need to add anything else. I think we did a pretty good job on this game. So we got through NFL, we got through college football, we got through college basketball, or at least a couple games on college basketball, and now through NBA. So it is about that time where we look at all these games we talked about and ask you if there's anything you would like to promote, first of all, and if there's a play you maybe like a little bit more than the rest for the show.
Well, we will promote first, Skee. Let's promote my work. You can find at wagertalk.com homepage. Rob Veno. Daily shows. Guys, if you're not a member yet of Wager Talk, it doesn't cost you a penny to be a member. Just go submit your email address. You'll get access to all the video content provided each and every day. And it gets more and more every day. I mean, I just got asked again, as everybody on the Wager Talk staff did, to do even more videos. So videos on everything, no matter what you follow, whether it be NHL, whether it be NBA, whether it be college hoop, whether it be golf. I mean, we got guys that cover everything there. So once again, wagertalk.com for all your handicapping needs. If you're looking for selections, mine are always available over there at wagertalk.com. As far as later this afternoon, we didn't have a lot of college football to talk about here, but I do go on with Drew Martin and his Every Game on the Board podcast Thursdays at 5:00. You can see us today. We're going to go through, I think it's about 15 or 16 games. I should have checked ahead of time to let you know what games in the rotation they are. I didn't, but again, we'll be covering a bunch of games there. 5:00, Drew Martin's Every Game on the Board. As far as plays are concerned here today, Skee, and again, I don't have a lot invested on today's card. Very little, as a matter of fact. Probably the lightest day at this point in the afternoon here on the East Coast, where I've been this light as far as taking stances is concerned. So for this show, let me just say I'm going to lead the viewers with Cincinnati plus the 3.5. I just think that over a field goal in that game is a little too much, considering the fact that Cincinnati's the desperate team in this situation. Sure, Baltimore wants to win. Sure, Baltimore's at home. It's a 7-3 team against a 5-4. And again, it's a Cincinnati team that hasn't won inside the division yet. I think the injuries offset each other on both sides of the field. So I'm going to try Cincinnati plus the 3.5 is the best bet for the show.
Good stuff there. And as Rob said, his profile will be in the description along with mine. So you can just go ahead and click the link, take you right over to Rob's profile there. And shout out to Boofer, giving a reminder, says, getting a little light on the like button. Smash it, and Skee will have the maid come on the show. That's what he says. Appreciate you always reminding me. And you guys, if you enjoy the show, hit the like button, as it does help us out. For myself, same kind of promo. All of my work is at wagertalk.com, and you can find my profile in the description. So I'm gonna go with Warriors team total under 112.5. And I'll just repeat these reasons really quick. OKC allowing 97 points per game the last three. Warriors bottom five offensive rated team their last 5 games. Warriors 21st shooting the three on the season, which is bottom 10. OKC number 7 defending the three. There's no Steph, and he's been the only person really scoring for them, the only person shooting the three well, really. And Golden State has lost 4 in a row. They haven't hit 112.5 in any of those 4 games. So under 112.5 will be my best bet for the show. Like I always say, the chat is much appreciated. You guys saw me earlier. I was dying laughing, even when you guys make fun of me. So I love it all. We have a good time. We share good information, and we take it to the window at the end of the day. So best of luck if you tell. Good luck to everybody on all your action. And Rob and I will be back again tomorrow. Peace.